What's up, guys? This is Dino here, and today I'm back with a brand new story for all you guys. This is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'm glad that I'm getting the chance to do this finally. The main reason that I'm starting this What If is to replace the What If Ash Woke Up on Time series with something else. This is mainly because there were two stories that I was doing at the same time with the Dragon Clan series and the Waking Up on Time series, and both of them had Ash as the main character. So it just felt a bit redundant, and I did not want to do something so similar at the same time, if that makes sense. So I will be, instead of continuing that, I will be beginning this one. As for the Waking Up on Time series, I will be releasing the next part only after I have completed the season 1 of the Dragon Clan series. And with that out of the way, let's get to today's game, which is Pokemon Deathmatch, if you will. Don't censor me, YouTube, please. Okay, so first of all, we have two jellyfish Pokemon, Jellicent and Tentacruel. I always wondered who would win in a fight between these two, and luckily now I have the listener base to give an opinion. So go to the comment section, type in hashtag Pokemon, give a space, and then write the name of the Pokemon you think is going to win this battle, Jellicent or Tentacruel. And with that all out of the way, we dive right into the story. What if Red joined Team Rocket? Parts 1 and 2. I will be releasing two parts at once because I need to get this What If with uh, up to the part 5 at least in like the next 2 weeks. So I'll be releasing the first and second part in this video itself. Don't worry, it will be nothing different. Just think of it as a long part. Anyways, before we begin the story, I'd like you to know that this will contain some elements of the anime, manga, core series games, and the Colosseum games, as well as some. It will be on the more fan fictiony side and will be in a much darker timeline, a little bit darker timeline. Just that. Red had just come of age to be eligible for beginning his Pokemon journey. He lived in Pallet Town with his mother, and his goal was to become a Pokemon champion ever since he was little. The night before he was to receive his starter, he stayed up all night in excitement about finally starting his Pokemon journey and wondering what Pokemon he will choose. The next morning, he was up early and arrived at Professor Oak's lab before it was even open. Soon enough, a lot of youngsters started arriving one by one, all wanting to receive their Pokemon. But Red was first in line and was pretty confident that he will get his starter today itself. As all of them were waiting, a young boy of about Red's age cut the queue and stood right in front of Red. Red was agitated by this and asked him to follow the queue. The boy introduced himself as Trace and said that he was the son of the president of the Silk Corporation in Saffron City, and he had a VIP pass to get his starter. Red was immediately put off with the entitled attitude but remained patient. He thought to himself that it's going to be okay. There are three starters, so even if this guy picks one, there will be two remaining. Trace soon came out of the lab, now with a Bulbasaur in tow, and told the waiting queue to go home as all the stock of Pokemon had run out, and to come back another day. Red, without even thinking, dashed inside the lab and saw Professor Oak with his grandson Blue. Blue and Red never got along. This was because Blue thought Red to be a total loser, and Red always has thought Blue was too arrogant to be friends with. Red frantically asked Professor Oak about the starter as he knew there were three, so even if Blue and Trace had picked one each, there should be one remaining. The professor told him that it's true. Trace picked Bulbasaur and Blue picked Charmander, but the Squirtle he has with him is reserved for the owner of the Pokemon Clubhouse in Vermilion City. He told Red to wait for a week or two before the next batch of starters arrives. Red was completely heartbroken by this, not because he had to wait for 2 weeks, but because this was unfair. Why should many people put their dreams on hold because of a few privileged people? This is what he thought. He went home and told his mother about everything that has happened. She consoled him and told him that sometimes life is not fair. Even if you do all the right things, you should be prepared for everything to go wrong. That's how we become stronger. Red cried himself to sleep that night. He had thought his this would be his first day in his Pokemon journey, his first step to becoming a Pokemon champion. Who is to say that the next time he goes to pick his starter, there won't be another entitled kid seizing the opportunity for him from him? All these thoughts flooded his mind throughout the night before he drifted off to sleep. The next morning, as he was getting ready to run some errands, he heard a knock at the door. It was a policeman. He looked at Red and asked him to come along. Both Red and his mom were confused and asked what was wrong. The policeman told his mom that there was a theft at Professor Oak's lab. A starter Pokemon was stolen, and because of his earlier interaction with the professor, Red was listed as a prime suspect. Red immediately denied this, and his mom told the policeman that Red had been in home all day and there was no way he could have stolen the Pokemon. The policeman, however, remained adamant and told them that Red had already been blacklisted from competing in the Pokemon League, and the theft had taken place in the night. So it is very possible that Red was the culprit. Red was then escorted from Pallet Town towards the police station. His mother desperately calling for the policeman that this was a misunderstanding, but he did not listen. As soon as they arrived in Viridian City, a beetle came out of nowhere from a nearby tree and started attacking them. Red took this opportunity to break free and run away. He dashed into the Pokemart where the employee looked at him and asked if he was from Pallet Town. Red was sweating nervously, and all he could do was nod. Then the employee handed him a package, saying that this was a very special delivery for Professor Oak, and requested him to take it back to the Pallet Town. Just as Red took the package, a siren began to sound off in the city, and he immediately ran out of the Pokemart. He kept running towards the west of Viridian City before he arrived at the base of the Indigo Plateau. He hid behind a small cliff as he tried to soak in all the crazy events that had transpired just now. As he sat there trying to catch his breath, he saw a strange Pokemon approaching him. It looked hurt and tired. It was small in size, but it had sharp claws and a menacing look. Red tried to shoo it away, but all it did was anger the little Pokemon and make it even more hostile towards him. Red was in a tight spot. He could not go back to the Viridian City, and out here he had no choice but to battle this wild Pokemon with his bare hands. Although the Pokemon was hurt, it attacked Red with pure ferocity, leaving a lot of bruises and scar marks. Red used a few boulders lying around to attack the Pokemon, and it surprisingly worked wonder. After a long and hard fought battle, Red was completely injured, cut in various places, and bruised up. But thanks to using the boulders, he managed to bring the Pokemon down. Despite being nearly knocked out, the Pokemon was still trying to get up and try and battle Red. Red fell down exhausted as he felt something in his pocket. He took out the package he got at the Pokemon, and inside it was a Pokédex and Pokeballs. Red immediately threw a Pokeball at the Pokemon, and after two shakes, it stopped, signaling the capture. Just then, the Pokédex in his pocket beeped up, registering it as at Sneasel. No further data available. Red passed out soon after. He woke up at an unknown place hours later. His wounds were bandaged up, and his bruises were treated with ice. He looked around and thought he was in the prison. The police must have caught him. He checked his pocket to find there were only four Pokeballs, meaning that the one he caught Sneasel with was missing. He tried to get up but was too hurt to do so. Just then a strange man walked into the room holding a Pokeball. Looking for this? He asked Red before handing him his Pokeball. Red looked at the man and asked him where he was. He replied by saying they were in the Viridian City gym. He introduced himself as Giovanni, the gym leader of Viridian City. He told Red that he had shown a lot of promise in that battle against the Sneasel, and that's what he likes seeing in aspiring trainers, so he has an offer to make. He offers Red to join Team Rocket, and not just Team Rocket, the special project of the Rainbow Rocket Foundation, a special project he has for special trainers like Red himself. Red immediately declines this by saying that he would die before working with a criminal organization like Team Rocket. Giovanni simply replies by saying, "Aren't you the same in the eyes of the law? Do you want to keep running forever and hide, or do you want to run through them and make a difference?" Before Red could answer the question, Giovanni signaled him to hide behind a wall. Just then the policeman from before arrived. He told Giovanni that he was looking for a kid with a red hat. Giovanni looked at the policeman and with an icy cold stare asked, "Do I look like a kid with a red hat?" "No?" "Then get the hell out of my gym." Giovanni, after chasing the policeman away, told Red that he will have his grunts escort Red back to his home. He has until the next morning to decide on the offer. Red arrived home and his mother hugged him asking if he was okay. He told her everything that had happened and about the offer. His mother told him not to accept the offer and they would leave for Sevi Islands first thing in the morning to avoid his capture. Red told her that it would be running away, and he does not want to run away. He wants to make a change. And as much as he hates it, joining Team Rocket is the only way. His mother tells him that she is proud of him to think like that, and even if he's surrounded by darkness, the light in oneself is the only thing that matters in the end. The next morning, Red arrives at the gym and tells Giovanni that he accepts the offer. Giovanni says that that's a wise choice and basically gives him a rundown of the foundation. He says it will be a 6 months training program in the ore region. So after the completion of the training, he will be brought back to the Kanto region and be a part of Team Rocket's elite squad and possibly lead it someday. With that, Red sets off for the Ore region, a barren wasteland scrolling with dark type Pokemon, and it was just depressing to look at. Everyone was in poverty, everyone was in a bad mood every time, and just in the middle of it stood the majestic Rainbow Rocket Foundation. Over the next 6 months, Red along with Sneasel were put through an intense training program, namely in four areas: tech skill, strength, stealth, and leadership. For the first 2 months, Sneasel never obeyed Red and always attacked him, resulting in Red blocking and dodging all its flurries. But this eventually led into them both respecting each other as equal and partners and becoming best friends. And Red is able to pass each and every one of the tests. His technological test mainly due to the help from his only friend in the Foundation. This was Emerald, a young trainer from the Hoenn region. He was a genius in technology and machinery and even managed to build himself a robotic arm to replace his real arm which he said he had lost in a horrible accident. Him and Red were really good friends and told each other about their dreams outside Team Rocket. Red said that his dream was to become the Pokemon champion and bring change to the system. Emerald tells him that his dream is to have revenge on a Pokemon that destroyed his village a long time ago, but he never really went into detail in that one. The day before the completion of the training, all the recruits who had passed every test were summoned. This included Red, Emerald, Giovanni's son Silver, and Hugh, a trainer from Unova. They were all told that as a part of their final test, they had to give up their starter Pokemon that they had all this time. This was to ensure that there is no feelings or attachments involved as they are 100% focused on their missions. Although Red was absolutely gutted by listening to the order, he knew that he had absolutely no choice but to listen. But that night, he cultivated a plan to get Sneasel back. He used his Pokédex to find the location of Sneasels in the old region, and luckily, they could be encountered near the Foundation itself. So he sneaked out during nightfall, barely avoiding the security, and captured another wild Sneasel. He then went to the room containing the Pokeball of the Sneasel and replaced it with a wild one. As he was preparing to leave, he heard footsteps and in a panic hid inside a dark room which he had never been inside. This saved him from being spotted by some grunts, who then took all the Pokeballs and left. Red thought to himself that if he was a few minutes late, he would have lost Sneasel for sure. As he looked around the room, he saw something that almost made him fall back in fear. It was a large Pokemon inside an incubator. It was radiating an ominous energy, which was almost drawing Red towards it. As Red drifted towards the strange Pokemon, it shot a dark flame towards Red, and it immediately engulfed Sneasel's Pokeball. This snapped Red back to his senses as he tried to put out the fire, but unfortunately Sneasel was released from the Pokeball. Similar to the Pokemon inside the incubator, Sneasel also became shrouded in the same ominous aura and started to wreck the entire lab, as Red desperately tried to calm it down and recall it. Fortunately, Red's words got through it, and it appeared that Sneasel was not ready to handle this kind of power, as it fell out of its demonic form and back to normal. Red barely fled the scene when a scientist arrived into the lab, alerted by the noise. Red was running through the hallway towards his room when he once again heard footsteps approaching him. But this time he was grabbed from behind and pulled into a room, once again barely managing to escape being spotted. It was Emerald who saved him by using his robotic arm. He asked Red what was he thinking sneaking off at such a highly secure place. Red told him that he went to get his Sneasel back and asked Emerald if he had really given up on Trico and was going to do nothing about it. Emerald says of course not, as he had already placed a chip on Trico's Pokeball, which would transfer Trico into another Pokeball he has with him all the time. Red tells him that this is genius and he could have informed him about it. Emerald simply says that you didn't ask, did you? Before parting ways, Emerald gave Red a parting gift. It was a titanium mask inside which he had coded the features of Red's Pokédex, a night vision, a log decoder, town map of different regions, and the memory of almost every TMs he could get his hands on inside the Foundation. He told Red that by wearing this, he could disguise himself and challenge the gym leader, as as his trainer card was basically disqualified from participating in the Pokemon League, and this way he could do so and chase his dream. Red thanked him and told him he was a true friend and he hoped that they would meet sometime again. Red returned to Pallet Town and his mother was extremely happy to see him again. She told him that the police still had a warrant on him, and replied that it doesn't matter to him anymore. He's ready to be the light, even if it means working from the shadows. Red arrives at the Viridian City Gym the next day, escaping the sight of the police. Giovanni is extremely proud of him and assigns Red his first mission: help a B-ranked squad steal a stock of Moonstone at Mount Moon. Before setting off for Pewter City, Red is given the usual Team Rocket Pokemon, that being Ekans and Coughing. He knows very well that they are extremely weak, but decides to keep them and train them up anyways. On his way to Pewter City, he travels through the deeper parts of the Viridian Forest to avoid being seen. These parts were infested by much stronger and more dangerous bug types. As Red was walking, he felt something sharp slash his cheek. He couldn't quite figure out what it was, but it was moving at very high speeds and constantly attacking him with slashes. In order to keep sight of its movement, Red put on his mask and is able to spot the Pokemon. It was a Scyther, and by the looks of it, it was at a very high level indeed. Red sends out his Sneasel, who is able to keep up with Scyther's speed easily, even dodging most of its attacks, before putting it down with an ice shard, and Red captures it soon after. Red then arrives at Pewter City and seals the rocket logo on his uniform to not so that he would not attract unnecessary attention. Red decides to challenge the Pewter City gym as he had originally planned as soon as he received the order from Giovanni to go to Mount Moon. He enters the gym and is confronted by one of Brock's apprentices. He tells Red that he's light years away from facing someone like Brock and challenges him to a battle. Red looks at him with almost a killer look and replies that light years measure distance, not time. The young trainer trembles in fear at the sight of Red's menacing aura, and the mask just adds to this dread. Red walks up to Brock and introduces himself as Shadow. He tells Brock not to kid around. He's not a beginner and is not here to play games. He's here to have a real battle. Brock is a bit pissed at this attitude but decides to humor this request. Instead of Geodude, he sends out Graveler, and Shadow sends out his Scyther. Brock tells Shadow that for all the trash talk he did, He decides to use a Pokemon which is quadruple weak against rock types. Shadow stays silent. Graveler starts with a rock tomb, which Scyther effortlessly dodges and blasts Graveler with a steel wing, sending it crashing backwards. Before Brock could comprehend what had happened, Scyther, with a freakishly frightening speed, connected with a flurry of steel wings, and finally finished Graveler off with a brick break attack. Brock is completely shook, but he tries to maintain his composure and sends out his golem. Red switches Scyther for Sneasel, and Brock orders Golem to use Earthquake. Before Golem could even begin the attack, Sneasel jumps in the air and connects with an icicle crash on Golem, causing massive damage and also a flinch. He follows it up with a low kick, which is even more damaging due to Golem's increased weight, and knocks it out with one hit. This gives Red a decisive victory and the Boulder Badge. He tells a noticeably shook Brock to send a message to the gym leaders and the entire Pokemon League that a revolution is coming, and no matter what they do, they will not be able to stop it because it is inevitable. As he exits the gym, he spots an old man scolding a youngster. Red recognizes the man as the owner of the Pewter Museum. He can hear the young trainer pleading the man to at least lower the costs so that him and his friends can glance at the old amber fossil. But the owner shoos him away, saying that there is no entry without paying the full fee. The youngster tears up and runs away. Red looks at the museum board to find out that they had tripled the entrance fees from the last time he visited it, not too long ago. He theorizes that this is because of the old amber fossil, so he decides to teach them a lesson. During the night, Red breaks into the museum in his Team Rocket outfit, with the Ekans and the coughing, and soon enough, security arrives with a horde of Growlithe and Machop. Red, knowing fully well that this is too much for the Rocket Pokemon to handle, orders Coughing to use Smokescreen. And in the guise of the smoke, he sends out Vival and Scyther who lay out the security before the smoke clears. With the path cleared, he reaches the old amber and takes it for himself before completely trashing the museum and taking away all the artifacts it had. The next morning, the owner along with the police arrived to find the fossil and artifacts missing, and the entire museum trashed, with a large Team Rocket logo right in the middle, sending a statement. And guys, that will bring an end to this part. Sorry if it was too long, and sorry for the sound of the dogs barking. Like that noise is too loud. I cannot remove it from the video. So hope you guys enjoyed this. There is no like goal. So yeah, you will see the next part soon enough. Stay safe, take it easy, and God bless.